Really, we are here to say the dandelions are considered one of the top 5 most nutritious vegetables.
Hello and welcome to the Herbs with Rosalee podcast, a show exploring how herbs heal as medicine, as food, and through nature connection. I'm your host, Rosalee de la Forêt. I created this YouTube channel to share trusted herbal wisdom so that you can get the best results when relying on herbs for your health. I love offering up practical knowledge to help you dive deeper into the world of medicinal plants and seasonal living. Each episode of the Herbs with Rosalee podcast is shared on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast app. Transcripts and recipes for each episode can be found at herbswithrosaleepodcast.com or through the link in the video description. Also in the video description, you'll find other helpful resources. For example, to get my best herbal tips, as well as fun bonuses, be sure to sign up for my weekly herbal newsletter. Okay, grab your cup of tea and let's dive in. It was so much fun to meet the famous Brigitte Mars. You know, when you're hanging out with someone who's been an herbalist for over 50 years, it's gonna be awesome. And Brigitte is quite the character. She's the person you'd sit down to have a cup of tea with and you'd never stop laughing. So this was truly fun. For those of you who don't already know her, Brigitte Mars is an herbalist and nutritional consultant of natural health with over 50 years of experience. She teaches herbal medicine at Naropa University. She has also taught at the Omega Institute, Esalen, and many festivals including Burning Man and even the Mayo Clinic. She is a founding and professional member of the American Herbalist Guild. Brigitte is the author of many books and DVDs, including the Natural First Aid Handbook, Natural Remedies for Mental and Emotional Health, the Desktop Guide to Herbal Medicine, and a newly republished book on dandelion. Her latest project is a phone app called iPlant, and she has online courses which you can find at 7roots.com/herbal. Welcome to the Herbs with Rosalee podcast, Brigitte.
Thank you so much. What a delight and an honor to be with you. I have long admired your work, so thank you for your contribution.
Well, that's exactly how I feel about you. It's a delight and an honor, and I've been anticipating this for a long time. As I was sharing with you your desktop guide to herbal medicine, of which there's a second edition out now. I wanted to show my original though, because I have pored over this book for hours. And I love that it's called the desktop guide because that's where it often sits, is on my desktop. So I've just admired your work for so long. So it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I'm really excited to hear about your herbal path because that's something I haven't heard before. So I want to hear how the plants called to you and have brought you all the way here to us today.
Oh, I love being able to talk about that. So my mom was French Canadian and my dad didn't speak French and my mom didn't speak English, but I had this French Canadian grandmother, my grand-mère. And she was sort of like a folk healer. She didn't like make a big deal about being an herbalist, but it was like going back in time. She cooked on a wood stove and she had chickens in the backyard. And everyone in her family ate les grains de lin or flax seeds. And she did everything by the moon and she read tea leaves and cards and she recycled. It sounded so like something out of a fairy tale and very part of the earth. And I did help her one time heal a little wounded bird. I must have been like 3 or 4. And she put some kind of salve on it. And, of course I wanted to keep the bird, but, we made it well and it got to be with its family. And I said, I want to be able to do that. So fast forward a little bit. I will say that I went to an all-girls boarding school and I started getting into herbs then. Someone took me into a natural food store for the first time. I happened to be on some kind of a plant spirit medicine. And I just said, wow, this is amazing. I just decided I was going to learn about herbs and juicing and vitamins and natural healing. And I ended up being like the alternative nurse at the boarding school, giving my friends chamomile tea and rescue remedy and, So, and then I lived on a commune in the Virgin Islands and helped open up the first natural food store. We ate wild food out of the jungle, harvested seaweeds. Oh, and probably the biggest thing was I lived in a teepee in the Ozarks for 2.5 years, pretty much off of wild edible plants
Oh,
in the
wow.
Ozarks. And, I had one of my babies, Rainbow, in the teepee. So I just like, okay, I believe in this natural stuff. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to do it. Pioneer woman. It just sounds like something that people needed to know. I'm also going to say that I did go to massage school. I was a student of William Lassacier's.
Mm.
Then I have had a friend who helped start Celestial Seasonings, and he told me about a job opening to be an herbalist at a natural food store, Pearl Street Market. So I was the herbalist there and then Alfalfa's Market. And I've worked retail, but I've written 18 books. And every time you write a book, it's like a college education, helping people in the community. But I will say, when I worked at Alfalfa's Market, a great health food store, I brought in lots of different herbalists. Like, I'm going to bring Herbal Ed or Christopher Hobbs or Susan Weed or Rosemary Gladstar. I just brought everybody, Michael Tierra and Leslie. And so I kind of got the after school special and, had them stay at my house. So many teachers, but all of that, has been part of my path as an herbalist. And of course, it feels so right. Like, you get to do something that's good for the people, for the planet, for the water, for the bees, for our air. Just seems like a holy healing thing. And even though we can look at all the perils on the planet, it just keeps coming back to that this is the right thing to do. And it amazes me that humanity's slow to get it. Like, there still have been pesticides sprayed on our block. And we know this, so we're going to do our best. Isn't that our mantra, no matter what is going on in the world? And so one way that we get to teach people, like, all right, we should be like giving our water back to the plants, even if it's a malva or a plantain. And we need to, get back to the earth and learn how to grow food and include more wild things, because the life force in them is so profound. So, those are just some of the many ways that we can do this and help people and help the planet at the same time.
Yeah. That was Bethy Lovelight, your partner there in the background, making sure
There's still
everything's going well.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We have big winds in Boulder. They're called Chinooks, and we don't want it to break the stained glass.
Yeah.
All right. So you can ask me anything. I live in Boulder, Colorado, and I do so many things with herbs, like, that I just feel really great. I'm 71 years old. I've never learned to drive.
Wow.
And yeah,
Didn't know that either.
I'm driven. And I walk around and I see wild plants. Oh, and I also do crafts. I made this vest. I embroidered.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's lovely. I wish I did embroidery so I could put plants on everything. I mean, that's what I want to
Why
do.
crochet? I think handcrafts are very good for the soul and for health and the brain.
I agree. I'm a knitter, so I knit constantly. Yeah.
All right. A kindred sister.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing that we're kindred spirits about is you and Bethy Lovelight, your partner, and I are very passionate about dandelions and very passionate about people not spraying the dandelions. So that's something I'm already very much in a kindred spirit with you about. So yeah, we're going to talk about dandelion today, and I love that you're an activist about it, because I feel like that too. Like, let's spread the love of dandelion so we can stop poisoning them. But I recently saw on your Instagram page that you were pointing out that Whole Foods, which sells organic foods, was putting pesticides in their lawn, which
And it happens all around the country. So, really, we are here to say the dandelions are considered one of the top 5 most nutritious vegetables. We are using a third of our nation's water to water lawn grass, which is very often imported from other continents. And what do we do with this crop that we try so hard to grow? We drive to the car with the car to go buy gas to cut down the thing that we grew so that we can throw it away. I mean, really, I feel that this is an oppression of the feminine, an oppression of nature. It's very controlling because there could be free food and medicine for everybody that would invigorate people's health. And I will also say, Rosalee, we live right downtown in Boulder, Colorado, and just whatever little bit of lawn we had, if we were to flourish the dandelions, the chickweed, the violets, we could have free food and medicine pretty much at most times of the year if we need it. So, I'm so excited. This book, Dandelion Medicine, I did with Story Publishing, which I believe is, a division of Hatchet Book Group. But I love Story. They are definitely a part of the Back to the Land movement. You have a book with them as well?
I don't, but I love how many herbal books they put out, from Rosemary, from you, from Maria Noel Groves. I mean, just such great books come out of Story.
And thank you, Story. And basically, I wrote this book like 20 years ago, and I thought, it'll be a bestseller. And it actually got translated into Chinese and Spanish, and it went out of print. And so I contacted Story and said, maybe people are waking up a little bit more now. We know that we can't be wasting water. People's food bills are increasing. And wouldn't it be great if they could save thousands of dollars a year? And people's health are declining. And there's been so much talk, in the social media about all the health benefits of dandelion. So many people are, for the root, for the liver, the leaves. Anything you do with spinach, why go buy spinach from somewhere else when you can make this into spanakopita or pesto or, lasagna, like anything to do with spinach, green eggs, no ham, whatever you want to do with it, you could use this. And even if it gets a little bitter after it flowers, a little bitter is good for you too. So, but I want to share something we did last night with my class that I learned from teaching in Iceland. Is we boiled the long stems in hot water for about 5 minutes, strained it, and then added a little olive oil, garlic, nutritional yeast, and salt. Made garlic noodles. We also made a pesto out of lamb's quarter too. But did you know you could do that? Like all these dandelion stems, they're going to be best before the stems are too tough, but that worked. And the flowers are high in lutein, which is good for eyes. We've been bamboozled, folks. They made us think that we're supposed to kill this plant and that you're a good citizen if you have pesticides, applied signs in your yard. And here it is, 2024, and we know that the water, the air, the earth, and having plants helps to cool the planet, helps to provide oxygen in our busy cities. So believe me, sometimes it feels like progress is really slow, but again, thank you, Story, for doing a book, Dandelion Medicine. If I were going to another planet, which maybe someday I will, I would bring 3 plants with me if they told me I could. I would bring dandelions. I would bring stinging nettle. This is how I do facelifts. Really, I even do it over my eyes. Don't medicate, urticate, I always say. It's really good for arthritic joints. Don't be some people, I know you're like a brave soul. But anyways, we do this. It's good for hair loss, guitar players, typists. All right. And then, so that would be the other plant I would bring. I would probably also bring cannabis, which is legal in hopefully your state too, because you can make food, fiber, fuel, fabric, many, many things, animal bedding, hempcrete. And so we want to pick plants that I consider Jedi survival plants. And so hopefully I'm not going on too much, but I feel that
great, Brigitte. Just bring it on.
a really big thing is, Americans often eat plants that are kind of like annual and a little prissy. Like as soon as the frost comes, the zucchini's the tomatoes, you got to pick all the green tomatoes and all that or cover them up. We want to eat plants that are really hardy, that survive adversity, that survive the frost and the cold and the wind and the dandelions are so adaptable that even when they're mowed down, they just grow back a little shorter the next time. And even if you dig them up and you leave a little piece of root in there, it will grow back. That's like a salamander or something, one of those animals that regrows its limbs, right? Is that a Jedi skill? And when I say Jedi, I don't mean in reference to the movie. I kind of mean like, the ancient of working for the highest good and all that, and with a D in front of it, so we don't inflict anybody's have conflict of interest. So what I was saying was, we want plants that survive adversity. All the adaptogens, things like rhodiola and eleuthero, they survive adversity growing high up in the mountains. So when we eat plants that have figured out a way to survive, even without being planted, even while being mowed, even while being sprayed, unfortunately, and they still find a way to grow. For nettles, nettles has its own weapons, You could walk, maybe we should start walking down the streets with this, instead of pepper spray. Yes. Well, anyways, I was saying that there's just so many uses of these plants, and we've been bamboozled to think that there are enemies. And the fact that they are survivors can help us adapt to all the things that we're dealing with, like chemtrails and chemicals in the water and pollution and on and on and on. So it's really so simple, and yet somehow we've been convinced that they are not the sign of a good citizen. And I'm sure you know this, Rosalee, but supposedly the whole idea of a manicured lawn started in the late 1880s in the British Empire, where aristocrats wanted to show how affluent they were. So if they didn't have a lawn full of medicinal plants and the lawn was suitable only for things like, badminton and croquet, then, people might think you'd achieved a level of affluence, and didn't need those peasant medicines, or the doctor could bring you leeches if you really needed them. So, this is medicine for the people. But I do see, when we even think about hundreds of years ago, it's like they don't want us to see that there could be free food and medicine. They want us to buy gas to go buy the things that take gas to get there. And we know that this is not the plight that our planet is in. And that's why, I feel like all of the herbalists were working together to get this message across. And, it's simple things like learn about the weeds in your area, learn how to use these green medicines. And, one thing, I watched this show on Gaia TV the other night, and it was about sacred geometry, and it was on a series called Sacred Divine Science. And when we imbibe the sacred geometry that you see in the molecules of a plant, like if you were to look at a magnifying glass at like just a tiny blade of grass or the petal of a violet or something, you would just see this kaleidoscopic mandalas of fractals and beauty and like worlds within worlds. And you don't usually get that from a white pill from a laboratory. So we're also imbibing like this, energy and memory and sacred geometry that is really a gift of the divine that is on all life. And so I feel strongly that those three plants I mentioned, dandelion, nettles, and cannabis, even though they try to get us to destroy really all three of them, they really could all provide, medicine, food, fuel, so many things. I love Rudolf Steiner said, nettles are the heart of the world. And, I can understand people are afraid of nettles because they prick you. But, what we do with nettles, we juice them. And we do this with a lot of weeds. We call it wild weed juice. So this you can do with any of your weeds. So let's say you fill the blender with whatever it is, chickweed, nettles, dandelion, cleavers, cannabis, fan leaves, or the male plants, lamb's quarter, arugula, da-da-da. All right. And then you have maybe an apple and maybe half a lemon or lime with the peel. I might take out the seeds, half a lemon lime, because you want that limonene for its anti-cancer properties. This is how you make juice without a juicer, because juicers are a lot of hassle to clean. All right. And you fill it with water and put the lid on really well. And then you strain it through a paint strainer bag, or what people might call a nut milk bag, but a paint strainer bag that you can get at any hardware store or paint store. It's nylon. You can just squeeze it really tight and you can throw them in the laundry. But rather than making juice be like a 45-minute ordeal, this is like a 5-minute thing. You could be drinking these fresh plant juices, and I'll tell you that makes you feel invigorated. I think that is the real big health secret. They don't want us to be so healthy. They want us to be.
Yeah, I love doing that with the fresh herbs. There's something, especially in the springtime when everything's so vibrant, it just feels really invigorating and super fresh. And also, it's just like, it's this where I live, it's kind of this moment of time where you can do that. So it just feels very connected to the seasons to be able to enjoy the young, fresh plants in that way.
And so, like another thing we can be doing at this time of year is like crushing some lemon balm or some mint, or put some lilacs in your water carafe and just
Mhm.
infuse the water with the beauty and imbibe these, precious molecules that are kissed by the sun and the rain. Hopefully, we have spring rains. So, yeah, it's like imbibing beauty and energy. You're also imbibing the elements that are out there. So, we just need to do what we can to make it a little greener wherever we are and give back to the earth.
I have
You
no
know,
doubt that I just love that you have republished this book entirely on dandelion, to help spread the love of dandelion and all of your great ideas of working with dandelion. Because I have this hope, which I realize might be somewhat naive, but I think the more people who love dandelion pesto, the more people who will stop spraying their lawns. And for you,
Mhm.
you've shared a recipe with us for dandelion quote mushrooms. Will you talk a little bit about that recipe for us?
That is so easy, so easy. Okay, so collect some dandelion flowers, and they close up later in the day. So you want to collect them while they're still open before dusk. And then rinse them. And I usually don't rinse them because I kind of want to imbibe those soil microorganisms because I think that's immune building. But, I rinse them because I want something, a breading material to stick to them. And my favorite right now is cornmeal. And if you really want to be like, groovy, you could use blue cornmeal. So just mix the cornmeal and a little salt into the dandelion flowers and then pan fry them in coconut oil, or that's what I use. That worked. You could use butter if you wanted to, but coconut oil works really well for that. And and then you have a crispy, crunchy, easy 3-minute thing. So, Rosalee, I feel like, and I'm really sad because I keep putting efforts into this, but I think a lot of people feel, what do I do? I live in a homeowners association. If I don't mow our lawn, they're gonna ticket us. Da 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 da. So what are some of the strategies we can do? Well, I did put a sign on my front porch that said wildlife protection area and community pollinator garden, but that did not stop people right next door from spraying herbicides.
Mhm.
I know, like really in 2024. I know they're not from around here. There's also a law in Boulder County that we help get on the ballot. And the law is that if you spray pesticides, you're supposed to post a sign 48 hours before and 48 hours after. So that is a law, but they did not do that. And sometimes I think people use their lawns like an ego trip. It's like control of like the wild energy, the gifts of, the creator, the god and the goddess. It's like, we want to suppress, we want, and it's really interesting. I don't want to sound demeaning, but the people that did that, the mom has cancer.
Mhm.
You would think that spraying something in your yard when you have a type of cancer that's actually caused by environmental poisons, you would think that that would make a little sense. So, we're still going to keep doing our best. And, we have to turn adversity into opportunity. So, what I was saying is sometimes we have to find ways to tame the dragon. And by doing a podcast like this, by writing a book like Dandelion Medicine, by going into a place of business where you saw a pesticides applied sign or people doing that and say, I will not shop here. I will not do banking here because you're spraying pesticides. I think we just have to really use our voice. And sometimes it seems like it's a really slow progress, but I'm really glad that Dandelion Medicine is back. I do have a neighbor, bless his heart. He told me that his lawn is my lawn. And so I can bring my class behind his yard, and he lives right downtown too. And so what I'll do is like I'll bring him like some dandelion mushrooms or dandelion quiche or dandelion muffins or
Mhm.
dandelion cookies I made. There's even more recipes that you can dream up that are in the book, but really this is a great way to jumpstart, and all the health benefits. The dandelion's a great herb for acne, eczema, psoriasis, and people who feel like they need to be more grounded, like they're always losing their keys or they're always late. Maybe they need to eat more roots.
Hmm.
I have a daughter named Sunflower, and that's in the same family as Dandelion, Sunflower Sparkle Mars. And I have a daughter named Rainbow Harmony Mars, who has had some fame as a yogini and supermodel. Um, but so, anyways, sunflowers in the same family as Dandelion, the Asteraceae family. And if you think about it, Asteraceae has a reference to like looking like a star. So we have many beautiful plants in that family, like chamomile and echinacea and arnica. So they kind of a reminder that they shine. They shine the light. I love how Matthew Wood says a lot of the flowers that are bright yellow help to shine light into the body where it needs it. So
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's something you'd mentioned that the flowers also of dandelion specifically are high in lutein, which I love because that's such an important nutrient for our eyes, as you mentioned. Something I've noticed a lot with dandelion flowers is how much joy they bring. Like just harvesting dandelion flowers brings so much joy. Eating them, sprinkling them on your salad, it just brings, yeah, just a lot of joy. And that's something that I feel like people feel that, it's like you could go out in a grumpy mood and then harvest your dandelion flowers or just spend time with them. You don't even have to harvest them. And there's a smile
and
on your face.
it looks like little rays of sunshine,
Mhm.
like the sun is shining. And it's a remedy for depression because in Asian medicine, when people have depression, they should be looking at what's going on with their livers because dandelion. Also, I wrote a book on natural remedies for mental and emotional health. And dandelion is a folk remedy and used by people today to help get rid of old stored emotions out of the liver.
Mhm.
That's amazing because and a lot of our things like even migraines and hot flashes, it's like liver fire rising. We want the energy from our livers to be able to descend and leave the body as it can. So dandelion helps us to detoxify in so many ways as a great liver herb. So
I
really,
love that it's such a gentle liver herb too. You could have it just as food, you could have it as medicine. Pretty much anybody can enjoy dandelion root, though. It's not something like, "Oh, be really cautious with this." It's something that's, "Oh, this is really effective," and practically everyone can enjoy it.
user friendly, we might say,
User
in this
friendly. Love
modern
that.
age. Yeah, something that's great for daily use. And, it has saved people during times of famine. How many people are like concerned about their food budget? Like, yes, we want to eat kale and spinach, but like, what if you had superior greens grown right in your environment? And, we can all grow something, even on our balconies or in pots. I have like a whole big tub of chickweed as a volunteer. I mean, that makes a great salad as well.
Mm.
So, and there's something about the wildness that you can't get at the store, even though there's so many great companies of products. There's something about imbibing something so fresh that was growing just a few minutes ago. And
Mhm.
as you said, Rosalie, like the energy in springtime when the energy is like really coming up, and then we can also look at, then we have the flowering age, and then it's like you know the soon will be the roses, and to kind of move through the seasons with what nature's giving you.
Mhm. Yeah, it's lovely. Thank you, Brigitte. Yeah, I love your enthusiasm for the wild foods and yeah, for plants in general and yeah, and then being an advocate for the plants too, talking to our neighbors and spreading more dandelion joy so people are less involved in the spraying of pesticides. Something I kept thinking about too when you were talking about like the manicured lawns versus like growing all of these different wonderful things, the lemon balms, the lamb's quarters I've seen you talk about, dandelion, chickweed, violets. There's just so much beauty there. And I don't think it takes much for people to like get out of the, shift away from thinking that a manicured lawn is beautiful to seeing the deep beauty of these more wild lawns that don't require as much water and also are giving us so much food.
And providing a pollinator habitat. You know,
Pollinator habitat. Yeah, I love
bees use dandelions early in the spring before a lot of other pollinator plants are out there. So by contributing to their demise, like it's so obvious, and yet we're still going to keep doing it and be grateful for being able to be a voice. And we ask all of you that are listening to, do what you can. My daughter Rainbow in LA got 12 of the houses on her street to create a food forest. And the
Ooh.
newspaper came like, what if we all did that? What if, one of my favorite proverbs, Rosalee, is an old proverb. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is now.
Mhm.
And what if we weren't even attached to, well, I always live here, but like, what if we just put like plum trees and peach trees and apple trees and hawthorn trees and elder trees, something that could provide for everyone and make this planet green again. And I really do feel at this time, and especially at this moment that, women, we all need to be united in this plant consciousness. And we invite all the conscious men that want to join in this, but this thing of cutting and it's very weaponry. I mean, like leaf blowers, lawn mowers, and weed whackers are, they did a study that an 80-year-old woman with a broom could clear as many leaves with a leaf blower as two guys with a leaf blower, okay, with a lot less noise, which must scare the fairies, right? So it sure isn't. Yeah, it's such a thing. So, we're really grateful of all the work that we're all doing. And we just are, we hope that you'll enjoy this little song that's going to be after this, Dandelion. Feel free to share it and make the world known. There's something wonderful about being into the herbal path, that you just get to be part of the solution, and everyone is welcome. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for all that, Brigitte, and thank you for Bethy Lovelight for the song that we'll play shortly. And before you go, I'd love to hear more about some projects you have going on. I know the Dandelion book was just published. You've got one on nettle coming up. You have 18 books in
Yes.
total. Is that right?
Oh,
18?
my goodness. Yes, I do. Well, recently I just said, this just came out in January, Natural Remedies for Mental and Emotional Health. How does she do it? Yerba mate, cacao, blueberries. I have my secrets, but you have to know me for me to tell them all. But I will say some projects coming up. I'm writing a racy 60s memoir called Wildflower Child, the tale of sex, psychedelics, and natural foods. That's one project.
Wow.
But what's going to be out before that? I fancy doing something with like a homemaker kind of book, like Hints from Heloise, but with feng shui and aromatherapy and all of that in there. But I'm also doing a project with Sacred Science that's online, and I have lots on my website, like a little thing, Sacred Self-Care. I work a lot with the chakras. I do have a phone app, if you don't know about that. It's been out for a while, but it's called I Plant with Brigitte Mars. It's pretty much the desktop guide to herbal medicine with wonderful pictures by Martin Wall. And you can have it in your pocket, and it even works in the jungles of like Colombia on a bridge. And even if you don't have reception, when you get back to the hotel or the internet cafe, it'll tell you what those pictures were. That's great. So my phone app is called I Plant with Brigitte Mars. The one that takes the pictures of things is called Picture This. That is not my app, but that's fun. Keep learning about this. This is something you can learn your whole life. I'm trying to think of other projects. I get to teach at a lot of music festivals because Bethy Lovelight is a musician, and I get to teach about herbs. And I feel like really blessed. Like here I am at my age, I think once was enough at Burning Man, but I was at Envision in Costa Rica and lots of herbal festivals and music festivals, and just sharing the word, Yep, and we thank all of you for doing it. But I have a lot of projects. I'm very committed to making a positive difference. I teach it Or I might teach in Russia, online. I have an online course. I have a lot of energy, really.
I'm thinking you have not only a lot of energy, but also this obviously a strong thread of creativity that just bursts out of you with all of this creative energy that you have.
Oh, it's the weeds.
It's the weeds. Love it.
Oh, bless you. I'm so honored. Rosalee, if you ever come to Boulder, I would love to have you over for some nettle
I just
juice.
missed you the last time I was there. I remember that you had reached out and
Oh, you were here for a concert or
I was here
something.
for a concert. Yeah, and by the time I mentioned I was there, I was already gone. So
Well,
yeah.
I just want to show the listeners or the viewers, I made a fairy house.
Oh, lovely.
It spins around. It's hard to see from there, but I'll show it to you if you ever come over.
Well, before I let you go, I would love to ask you one last question. This one is a
Yeah.
listener favorite, and it's what is in your herbal medicine kit? First aid kit.
Okay.
Herbal
Well,
first aid.
I'm really big on what I call a Jedi survival bag. All right.
Okay.
And it's upstairs right now. But what do I have in there? Besides a toothbrush and toothpaste, homeopathic arnica, rescue remedy, 3 essential oils, lavender, tea tree, and peppermint.
Mhm.
I have a space blanket. I have a little magnifying glass that could start a fire. It's plastic. I have a hair tie. I have a little thing of Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap. Um, a spork.
Nice. This is very all-encompassing. I love it. It's very
A
smart.
spork. A bandana, which could be used as a strainer or nut milk bag.
Mhm.
And then if I have room, I almost always have a sarong because a sarong can be like a cape or a hood or a shawl or a blanket or an apple collecting bag or something like that. But I actually do, all my family members got what I call the Jedi survival bag. And I really do think rescue remedy and arnica and homeopathic arnica. I was in a very bad fall a little more than a year ago. I fell 15 feet onto a tile floor, and my daughter's sunflower was with me. I mean, I really thought I was going to die. So get the rescue remedy and the arnica, and I did them both right away. And I prayed for the angels to help heal me, and that I was okay to die and tell Rainbow I love her and say goodbye to my mom and all that. And I rejoined in my matrix somehow that. I'm a believer also that drinking the nettle juice helped my bones to be strong because, I'm elderly. It was a tile floor. And I think the nettle juice. I also you did horsetail to recover, laid on a crystal mat. But, and again, I'm going to die someday. But I'm going to have a good time until then and do my best. Or crusading for the highest good, aren't we?
Oh, I love it, Brigitte. I'm so inspired by you. I want to have as much energy as you have now. Like I want to have that now. So I got your secrets. There's yerba mate, cacao, wild juices. I'm on it, and cannabis. Well, thank you so much.
Not all the time, but it does help with certain chores.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, thank
Well,
you so much again. It's been such a pleasure and an inspiration. Thank you so much.
blessed be.
Thanks for being here. Don't forget to head over to the show notes at herbswithrosaliePodcast.com to download your beautifully illustrated recipe card and to get a transcript of this show. There, you'll also be able to sign up for my weekly newsletter, which is the best way to stay in touch with me. You can find more of Brigitte's work at BrigitteMars.com. If you'd like more herbal episodes to come your way, then one of the best ways to support this podcast is by subscribing on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. I deeply believe that this world needs more herbalists and plant-centered folks, and I'm so glad that you're here as part of this herbal community. Also, a big round of thanks to the people all over the world who make this podcast happen week to week. Nicole Paul is the project manager who oversees the whole operation from guest outreach to writing show notes to actually uploading each episode and so many other things I don't even know. She really holds this whole thing together. Francesca is our fabulous video and audio editor. She not only makes listening more pleasant, she also adds beauty to the YouTube videos with plant images and video overlays. Tatiana Rusakova is the botanical illustrator who creates gorgeous plant and recipe illustrations for us. I love them. I know that you do too. Christy edits the recipe cards, and then Jenny creates them as well as the thumbnail images for YouTube. Alex is our tech support and social media manager, and Karen and Emily are our student services coordinators and community support. For those of you who like to read along, Jennifer is who creates the transcripts for us each week. Xavier, my handsome French husband, is the cameraman and website IT guy. It takes an herbal village to make it all happen, including you. One of my favorite things about this podcast is hearing from you. I read every comment that comes in, and I'm excited to hear your herbal thoughts on dandelion. All right, well, you've lasted to the very end of the show, which means you get your gold star and this herbal tidbit. All right, well, I guess this herbal tidbit is less herbs, maybe, and more about Roundup, because it's truly bizarre to me that many people reach for poisons to eradicate certain plants in their lawn. It's just truly a sad world when people are using cancer-causing chemicals to kill beneficial weeds, many of which have been shown promising results in preventing or treating aspects of cancer. Roundup started being sold in 1974, which was 2 years after DDT was pulled from the market. The main ingredient in Roundup was glyphosate, and this continues to be the most common herbicide in the world. It's commonly used in agriculture, especially in GMO crops. Many countries and even U.S. counties have banned the use of glyphosate due to its association with cancers like non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Bayer, who bought Monsanto, has been in numerous lawsuits and has reportedly paid out billions of dollars in damages to those who've been negatively affected by this chemical. So, as a result, they have removed glyphosate as an ingredient from household Roundup. But I have no doubt in my mind that the remaining ingredients in Roundup and other herbicides are also poisonous to our personal health, as well as the health of the planet. Which is why we need a cultural change in regards to plants and how we're managing lawns. We don't need better poisons. We need to stop poisoning plants and the earth altogether. So that could mean pulling unwanted plants by hand. It could mean planting native plants, using mulch to control weeds, or removing lawns altogether to create gardens. These are all powerful steps towards tending our private and public spaces without the use of poisons. So let's encourage our neighbors with love to love the plants, even weeds like dandelion, and to stop using poisons which negatively affect our entire communities.